Hi guys, this is Ranjit, and in this video I'll be doing the in-depth review of the iPhone 16 Pro, and this review is after using this smartphone for over about 30 days, and I'll go over all the pros and even the cons, and there are some interesting things that I've noticed, some things that worry me about this smartphone, and you might not have heard that from others, but let's go over it. And to be very frank, I had also purchased the iPhone 14 Pro earlier, but I had skipped the 15. But again, this is the iPhone 13 Pro that I was actually having. So I'll also talk about, does it make sense if you're having some of the older iPhones, if you should upgrade or not. And before I dwelt into the pros and cons, what I felt about this smartphone, let me quickly give you the summary first, so that again, if you don't want to get into all the details, you can make a decision. The summary is that I would say the iPhone 16 Pro is actually a very good smartphone from Apple. After 2 generations, finally they have produced a good iPhone, I would say. But to be very frank, I would say the iPhone 13 Pro was the one that got most of the things actually right. The 14 Pro series and even the 15 Pro series had issues. Those are actually now solved. For example, there is no heating issues in general usage with the iPhone 16 Pro, and even the battery life is actually very good. So in terms of, I would say, getting the basics right, they have done a very, very good job. But the question is that, does it warrant an upgrade? And if you're thinking that you will upgrade it because of this new button, that is the camera control or whatever they call it, and Apple Intelligence, I would strongly suggest wait, because to be very frank, this button, the camera control button, is a sore gimmick in my frank opinion. And also that Apple Intelligence, as of now, yes, I just got it. If you can just see, I got the new Siri. I had to change the region to US and all those things. But again, this is strictly, I would say, half-baked, and this might take another 6 odd months to actually fully function. And by that time, again, if you're not in that hurry, if you have a decent iPhone that's working perfectly fine, maybe after 6 months you'll get these iPhones at a considerably low price. So let's get on with the review. So this is the box. I won't get into all those things. I've already posted my first video about it regarding the overview after using it for about 24 hours or so you can watch that for general impressions and all these things. But first, let's talk about the cellular call quality, and I'm going to compare it with my experience with using some other high-end smartphones like Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra, the Pixels, etc. what I had. And I have to say, in terms of cellular call quality, I feel still Apple has done incredibly well on this smartphone. The reason for that is that this place is slightly outskirts, and yes, if I go outside the house or on the terrace, etc., I get very good cellular signal. But inside, when in my room, etc., the cellular signal is not that great. It's patchy, I would say, like maybe 2 bars or something like that. And the cellular call quality on this one was excellent even in indoors. And I thought, yes, it might be actually using the, Wi-Fi calling, as I'm using Airtel. But just about a week ago, I realized that the Wi-Fi calling was by default disabled on this smartphone. You have to actually go in the settings and enable it. And then also when I was taking calls inside the room, etc., where the signal is not, the call quality was crystal clear. Now I've enabled Wi-Fi calling. So yes, it jumps between Wi-Fi calling and regular cellular calling. And here also, I would say Apple has done it really, really well. And some of the other smartphones, for example, particularly in Pixel, when I was using Wi-Fi calling, and let's say if I just move out a little bit where the Wi-Fi signal drops down, it continuously tries to get attached to that Wi-Fi calling to get the call, but again the call quality degrades. But here the iPhone automatically jumps between the cellular and the Wi-Fi calling intelligently. So I would say in terms of call quality and the seamless transition, they are doing an excellent job. Again, we never had proximity sensor issue, etc. on iPhones, and here again I would say in terms of cellular call quality, it's really, really good. Also, if you're a person who takes a lot of calls via speaker phone, then also it's going to be very, very good. In fact, I would say in terms of the stereo speakers, I have to say for this size, the stereo speakers are excellent, and they get pretty loud. So no issues regarding it. Now coming to one other small thing. This is my iPhone 13 Pro. They have increased the size a little bit. I would say if you look at it closely, slightly bigger. This is having a 6.1 inch screen, and this is having a 6.3 inch screen. And here, if you notice, it's sort of edge to edge. So I feel this is a perfect size in my frank opinion, and I appreciate it. Though again, it's not going to make a huge difference. I would say I'll just put this to the side. But again, this is a perfect size. It's neither too big nor small. Earlier, I used to feel that the older, what do you say, iPhones had to actually go with the max. But this one, I would say, it's that perfect size. It's neither too big nor small. I would say even slightly bigger, if they would have gone to 6.4 inches, it would have been ideal. But this is again very, very comfortable. And I am a person who actually reviews a lot of devices, and I generally don't like those oversized max phones. So again, this is a very good one. And of course, the standard stuff like the what do you say, face recognition, that face ID, etc., works brilliantly on this one. No issues whatsoever that I had. Next thing that I like is, and this is coming from a person who was using an Android phone, and if you are in India these days, a lot of spam calls that we are getting. About 80% of the calls that I get is spam. And one big issue that I had with the earlier iPhones is that Truecaller simply did not work as seamless as it worked on Android. Still, I would say is not as seamless because Apple simply does not give you all those permissions. But again, it is sort of functional. For example, let me just go to my dialer, and as you can see, this is an unknown number or whatever, and the suspected spam. This is Airtel spam calling that it detected, so I didn't pick it up. But again, whenever you're getting a call like this, the number will be actually displayed. What you can do is, by default, Truecaller cannot get it, but there is a Siri shortcut that you can enable. And again, with the assist, what do you say, in the settings, double tap at back, I've enabled that Truecaller to come up and read what number is there. That way, I would say it can detect what is, for example, this was the Bajaj Finance spam. So again, Truecaller sort of now works. It's not as a seamless experience as it's on Android. And Android, automatically it will pop up and it will show you. But here, for many of the what do you say, spam calls, etc., like this, I had to like just, if I do that double tap, and here it auto detected. Again, it comes up like this. So yes, there is a sort of a delay, to be very frank, but again, it works. One more new addition that Apple has done, and this is not specific to this smartphone itself, this is iOS 18 feature, and that is voice messages. If I go to voicemail, again, this I just did a test to just to do it. For example, if you don't pick up a call, it will actually go to this voice message, and again it will also try to transcribe it what it is. This transcription, I would say, does not work fully accurately, but 90% of the gist you can get it. For example, I'll just,
hi, I just wanted to call you up and check how are you doing. This is just a test call, so reply me when you get this.
so again, as you can see, it recorded that call and also transcribed it. It did miss that thing is a test call. But again, this is great for spammers or something. For unknown calls, I generally just don't pick it up. And this just goes to voicemail. And most of the time, it is basically a spam call. So this is a new addition, that voicemail addition that they have done. And this is actually pretty functional, I would say. So again, this is not specific to this model of the iPhone, but with iOS 18, I believe this is enabled. Next thing that I liked is regarding the, again, that Truecaller thing. Okay, is regarding the battery life of this one. And I have to say, the battery life is as good as that we were getting on the 13 Pro. And we knew with the Pro series, the 13 was the legend. And that's the same case even with this one. In fact, I would say I just charged it in the morning. For most days, most typical days, I would say, when it's like 70% on Wi-Fi and 30% when you just go out or something on mobile data, end of the day, I am having about 45% to 50% battery life. 45, yeah, around 45% battery life left. I did have one or two heavy day usage where I was just only on mobile data from morning till evening. And at night, even in those situations, it was at about 20 to 25% battery life left. So I would definitely say that the battery life has improved a lot on this one, and this does not give me that worry. I know many people were specifically going for the max version of the iPhones due to the battery life. So that's, if that was the case, you don't no longer have to go for the max. Yes, the max will definitely get you about even more battery life, approximately about 1.5 hours of extra SOT. But here the battery life is actually a very good one, and I did not have any issue. In fact, this is as good as many of the other Android smartphones that I use, where I don't have to worry about the battery life. So battery life is definitely a huge improvement also. Also, coming to heating, which was a case with iPhone 15 Pro series, I would say this one does not have that major heating issues. In regular usage, yes, sometimes the back portion gets slightly warm, but again, it was not like overheating or something. The only time that I noticed those overheating issues was when I was charging it. I would say, yes, when you put it on charge, this can get pretty warm, but again, that's sort of what also many people ask me. I also tried the wireless charging, and that also heats up quite a bit. But apart from that, I didn't have a problem. The only other place where I noticed a little bit of heating, and this was a lot higher immediately, you'll notice, is when you use the camera. And if you use the camera for more than a minute or so, definitely this back portion, you start to feel that heat. So that's the only thing that I noticed. I also shot a video continuously for about 6 minutes, and generally when you're using with the phone, you take small clips. Yes, it got pretty hot to touch, but the recording did not stop. So that's the only place where I am noticing the heating with this device. Also, I finally like that we have Type-C charging. Again, this came even in the 15 series. Again, pretty good. But I'll talk about the cons in the other part of the section. Another thing that I'm liking, and I would say iPhone is doing it a far better job than even the latest Pixel 9 series smartphone, is when in camera, if we invoke the portrait mode. No, this is the regular one, and this is the portrait. As you can see, the portrait mode edge detection is very, very good, even around the hair or something like that. And I was thoroughly impressed with this, because if this was a Pixel, this entire thing would have been blurred. And again, of course, you can just switch off the portrait and it goes to the portrait and all those things. So those things are there. So I would say among flagships, the portrait edge detection, iPhone is doing actually a very, very good job. So the portrait mode, as I was telling, is done very well on this one. I was thoroughly impressed, because earlier I was testing the Google, and man, Google needs to work on the portrait mode edge detection. It's pretty poor. And let me actually now show you some of the camera samples that I have taken with this smartphone. Let's start with some outdoor pictures, and as you can see in outdoor pics, it does a very good job. This is taken with the regular camera, and this is with ultra wide. One more example, this is again with regular, and this is ultra wide. What I like is that there is almost no color difference between the main camera and the ultra wide. And this is actually the best results that I have seen among any flagship smartphones, because many of the smartphones in ultra wide have a color shift. This is with the default 1x, and this is with the 5x zoom. The quality is good with the 5x, and again one more example, regular 1x, and this is 5x. But I feel the 5x in regular situations is just, it zooms in too much and is impractical. Coming to human skin tones, as you can see, these were taken in normal mode and they actually come out good. And this was in the portrait mode. One more example, regular mode, and this was in the portrait mode. And I feel the background blur I've zoomed in is done very well, again, without even blurring the hair. Getting shots like this, even without the portrait mode, is very easy with the main camera because the f1.78 aperture. Now, these were shot in artificial lighting conditions, and here also I feel the iPhone 16 Pro is actually doing a pretty good job. This is pretty dull lighting conditions in my office, and here in fact the lighting was so dull and I'm surprised with the results. Now moving to the front facing camera, I do not like the skin tones produced with the front facing camera. As you can see, with the rear facing camera, the skin tones are produced a lot better, and this was in the portrait mode, the same case. So I simply do not like the selfies with the front facing camera. So we are shooting the video with the rear facing camera, and let's just walk around so that you also get an idea about the stabilization. I also wanted to talk a little bit, and almost about 4 odd feet, 4 or 5 feet. Let's not be that far, nobody will be. Let's about 4 feet away from it, and wanted to judge the audio. You guys let me know what is the audio. We're using the default built-in mic, but now the new thing is that with this new iPhone 16 series, not even the Pro has slightly better microphones, but even the regular 16 has these features. We can change the audio format. For example, this might be the regular mode where it will capture everything, but we also have various other modes where the audio will change significantly. For example, I'll list over here when I've changed the mode, how it is. There is some background noise, some work is going on. Is it trying to minimize that or whatever? So this is a new addition, and I think so. This can be like, let's just walk. This can be actually useful in certain situations. Let's say if you don't have that professional mic or something. For example, let's talk about the studio mode where it gives that little bit, what do you say, really nice sound like you get with a microphone or something like that. This is kind of a thing that it tries to emulate. You guys let me know, does it work well in this real life situation? There's again some noise going on there, but yeah, let's just walk. I'll just walk so that and again the grass is actually pretty uneven, so that you can judge if how good is the stabilization. And again, I'm going in the sun, going out of the sun, etc. So again, you guys let me know what do you feel about the video with this iPhone 16 Pro. So guys, shooting this video with the front facing camera of the iPhone, and I have actually set it again to 4K 30. You can even go 4K 60 with this one. And I'll just move around. Right now I'm in shadowed area. I will move around in a slightly sunny area, etc. To see how it handles the skin tones and stuff. Because many of the earlier iPhones I never liked, sometimes when we move between the shadowed areas or something like that, how it handles the skin tones. You guys be a judge and let me know what do you feel about the video recording with the front facing camera, because this will be actually used in vlog style videos quite a bit. Now what I'll do is I'll go against the light. The sun is from that side, it's coming from behind, and this is sort of against the light that I'm doing. Of course, yes, it will definitely change the skin tone, but yeah, that's how it is. So this is a quick sample recorded with the front facing camera of the iPhone 16 Pro. So overall, I would say the camera is good, but again, it's not a night and day difference if you're using an older iPhone, but definitely good. But one place, as I've already told you, I feel still the front-facing camera, there is a decent color difference between what you take with the rear facing camera and the front facing camera. I frankly feel Apple really needs to work on that. Biggest problem again I have with still with the iPhones, and this is the case even with the Android flagships like the Pixels and the other, is still the charging speeds are not that fast. Yes, technically this can push up to 45 watts, but again, I did test it. I have a battery tester and all the fancy battery tester and all that. It was putting a maximum of just about 21. I've seen it in situation 22 watts. So it's not fast, super fast charging, and this is something that annoys me. And still, it would, I would say, if you're on a pretty low charge or something like that, it can take about 1.5 hours for charging. I feel Apple needs to, and even other Android manufacturers like Pixel, etc., need to work on. For example, what I like with the Apple Watch is that in 30 minutes it can charge 80%. If Apple can do that with an iPhone, also, it would be a practical game changer. So I would say this is still a phone that you, before going to sleep, you put it on charge, because in the morning, if you are just quickly expecting that the 20-minute top up will give you that full day of usage, that's no longer the case. That's not the case. Okay, next thing, this is regarding the 5x zoom. The earlier iPhones actually had the 3x zoom. Now even the regular iPhone, the 16 Pro and the Max, both have that 5x zoom. And I would practically say that I'm not a big fan of the 5x zoom, because in my regular usage, what I have noticed is that we hardly use the 5x zoom that much. We generally don't need to zoom in that much. There I felt that the 3x zoom was a lot more practical, but here I would say, so I'm a person who misses that 3x zoom a lot more than the 5x zoom that we are getting on this smartphone. And lastly, let's talk about this camera control button. I was also very excited when I got this one, and yes, if you just tap it once, it opens the camera. So it's a good thing to quickly open the camera, but you can do all the sliding and all those things also on this one. Let me just go back to, what do you say, the photo thing, and you can just slide it to zoom in and zoom out like this. But I would say this is very, very fiddly, and to be very, very frank, after about just 2 days of playing around with this phone when I got it new, I have completely forgotten about this one. And even when you're taking the photographs, I would say you have to actually push it a little bit, so there is a micro shake that you will do it. So I would say it's sort of impractical, and I would say that if you thought of buying this new iPhone just for this button, this is borderline useless according to me, I would say. And I've asked even others, some of my friends who have purchased the new iPhone 16 Pro series, they told that yeah, this is something that they are simply not using. And I think so this will be removed eventually. This is just like the Macs that had that touch bar for a couple of years. Apple forcefully added in all their Pro Macs, but after 3 or 2 years, they just removed it because nobody was using it. And I think so this camera control button or whatever will have the same fate. This is a big pet peeve that I have with Apple. Again, these are the Pro series of the smartphone, not the regular one. And yes, this is the base variant, and this still comes with just 128 gigabytes of storage. Come on, Apple. It's 2024, and in your Pro series, you're still giving 128 gigabytes of storage. Other manufacturers, at least are actually, even Pixel, yes, it has that 128 gigabyte variant, but India, the minimum storage that they have released is 256 gigabytes. So again, stop being this greedy, man. If you're having the Pro series, the base storage should have come with the 256 gigabytes of storage, considering the price premium that we are paying in India. And okay, let me also talk about the pricing in India. Yes, some will say, Ranjit, you are nitpicking or something. Yes, the pricing has actually come down from the last year's iPhone, but still it's pretty expensive. This base variant that I had purchased was for 1,20,000. This is for 128 gigabyte. But if you want to bump to 256, it's almost 1,30,000. So it's still pretty expensive. And now the good thing is that the new iPhones are being assembled in India. But I think so still we are paying that huge price premium still, even though these are getting assembled in India. So that is something that I do not like. If you go to Dubai or US or etc., you can get the same iPhone Pro series for a lot less price. So I think so the price parity should now come back, because now these are getting assembled in India. And one more big problem that I have with this one is that, and many of you will not realize this one as of now, the iPhone Pro series, all of them, and even the regular iPhone now come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. And for general usage, as of now, no issues. It's very, very fluid or everything. But now, as we are moving into that intelligence world, Apple intelligence and everything, I feel this 8 gigabytes of RAM will be a bottleneck in the next 2-3 years. And I was doing a little bit of digging and research. The only reason the older iPhones, that is the iPhone 14 and earlier, whatever, are not getting the Apple Intelligence, it's not because of the chipset. The chip is enough powerful to run it. It's just because of the limited RAM that they have. And I think so Apple with these Pro series, also by just giving 8 gigabytes of RAM, is limiting that. Because the large language models, the AI models, etc., they are getting bigger and bigger, and they actually occupy quite a bit of RAM on iPhones. As of now, it's okay with this 8 gigabytes of RAM. They are doing it fine. But eventually, these LLMs, if Apple really wants to push the AI stuff locally on the smartphones, those have to be in the memory. And I feel that 8 gigabytes of RAM will be a bottleneck in the next couple of years. Within 2-3 years, many of the features, the new AI features that Apple will be introducing with the future iPhones will not come to this one because of the limited RAM that we are having. And this is saddening considering the price point of the smartphone. And for example, to give you an idea, just yesterday, Apple had actually released the new iMacs. Again, the big thing was that comes with Apple Intelligence and everything. And they have bumped the base RAM from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes. And the main reason is because of Apple Intelligence. And again, to give you an idea about smartphones also, in terms of AI and all this stuff, Google is far ahead. For example, Google also, if you recall, their Pixel smartphones earlier, a couple of generations ago, used to give just 6 gigabytes of RAM and in the highest variant, just about 8 gigabytes of RAM. But now even Pixel, a 9 series, the base variant comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM, and the Pro series come with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I did a little bit of digging, and that the reason for that is that Google anticipates that these LLMs, the AI models, etc., will get bigger and bigger. So they wanted to dedicate approximately about 4 gigabytes of RAM only for that. So there I feel Apple limiting the device to just 8 gigabytes of RAM is having a very short-sighted thing. And eventually, if this AI, Apple Intelligence, etc., goes the way Apple wants it, this can be a limiting factor. And maybe you might have to upgrade after 2 years. Eventually, the new iPhones, etc., will definitely come with a lot higher RAM. So that is something that I noticed. And also, as I've told you, Apple Intelligence, if you're just getting it for the Apple Intelligence as of now, I would say it's sort of half-baked. In fact, I couldn't even enable it. I had to actually change the region to US because the Apple Intelligence as of now is not enabled for India. And I think so all the features of the Apple Intelligence, etc., will get slowly enabled after 6 odd months. So to summarize, I would say, as a smartphone, this is very, very practical. It gets the basics right, like no overheating issues. The battery life is very good. The size is good. Gets the basics right, like call quality, etc. Camera good enough, I would say. So it gets a lot of basics right. But again, if you are having an older iPhone, I would say even a 13, I didn't feel a huge drastic, I would say, upgrade experience, to be very, very frank, spending the full amount at 1,20,000. So if you are already having an older iPhone, then it's a question. And if you're thinking that you will upgrade it just for this camera button or the Apple Intelligence, I would say hold on. But if you are having a, let's say, 12 series or older series iPhone, and that is now no longer giving you good battery life, etc., then maybe you can consider this one. Because in terms of functionality, I would say Apple has done a very good job with the 16 Pro series. It's almost as good as the 13 Pro series, which I feel was a legend. So this was my review of the iPhone 16 Pro. Do let me know what do you feel about the same, and I'll also leave the links of Amazon India in the description so that you can get the current pricing with any offers that might have. Anyways, guys, this is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, guys.